Hello, all, and welcome. I'm Jen Jordan, and I lead content and thought leadership at Onsite Partners, which includes the Scale Up AI conference coming up on November 12th. As a preamble to Scale Up AI, I'm so excited to introduce this fireside discussion with Riviera Partners Head of AI, ML, and Data Practice, Kyle Langworthy, and Onsite Partners' own operating partner, Bryan Powell. Our speakers today are pleased to offer you 35% off a virtual ticket for Scale Up AI, which features amazing keynotes from Andrew Ng and Ellie K. Miller. The code and website will appear below during the chat, so keep an eye out. With that, please welcome our speakers to the stage. Take it away, Bryan.
Scale Up AI Soundbites, an engaging series of AI-centric LinkedIn Live sessions featuring prominent leaders from Onsite Partners' portfolio that are shaping the future of AI. These talks set the stage for Scale Up AI, one of the first global conferences that brings top AI builders, executives, luminaries, and innovators. And I'm really excited here at Onsite Partners, thrilled to have our portfolio company, Riviera Partners, is a Scale Up AI partner this year, and I have the opportunity to interview partner and AI practice lead Kyle Langworthy today. Hey, Kyle, how are you?
Good. How you doing? Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to see you. It was good to catch up last night as well. I know it's always hard when you're trying to put 3 children to bed at nighttime, but like I said to you last night, we'll keep it light and have a good conversation. So I always think about how do we kick this off to keep it light? Let's talk about streaming, right? What are you and your wife when you're not with the 3 kids streaming when you have some free time?
Excellent question and icebreaker here. I think time without the kiddos is pretty minimal and rare. So given how high value it is, we pretty much go immediately to season 2 of Lord of the Rings, alluding to our full nerdiness here, which we inhaled and absolutely loved the last few weeks.
I know it's super hard, right? I mean, you don't want to binge it, but you also get the time to enjoy it as well. And I know it's hard sometimes, especially with the kids, and trying to not knock it out all in one night because of how much time you spend with them. Well, listen, again, let's it's great to have you here. I want to learn a little bit about you.
Yeah.
How long have you been in in AI and ML executive recruitment? How'd you get started? Anything behind your background would be great to know and learn.
Yeah, no, great question. I think formally for maybe about 5 years now, Riviera Partners acquired my search firm Worthyworks about 5.5 years ago. And at the time we were entirely cryptography and security focused, meaning like the deep technical RSA, all the algorithms. And so when I joined Riviera is when we really started working with a lot of the organizations that were pushing AI innovation forward, the Cruises, the Waymos, like inventing net new. And then the last 18 months, 2 years has largely been working with the organizations that are adopting a lot of those innovations and trying to figure out where is the ROI, how do we roll this out, how do we make this work for us? And so it's been, I'd say, a solid 5 years of AI from the data science, robotics, statistical Kalman filtering up to what we now call sort of like your more LLM, Gen AI, all the more modern buzzwords. But Riviera's got a great story though. I mean, we did our first actual data science search in 2012 for Warby Parker here in New York City. I think the issue is we just always called it engineering. It wasn't product management. It wasn't a chief security officer. So if it was data science or AI, it was just part of engineering. It wasn't until more recently they actually decided to carve that out as its own subject matter expertise, dedicate resources to it, and lean into it as its own function, as it's starting to sort of bubble up as a peer to product management and engineering, sort of like as a VP or head of AI. So it's been a very interesting, very exciting 18 months and trying to keep my head on straight through the process here.
I'm sure. I mean, the market, right, and the industry is changing so fast. I mean, it's kind of crazy to see it. So what type of companies do you usually work with? I mean, is it smaller companies, larger companies? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, no, great question. Probably about as broad as the Onsite portfolio as well, I'd say. We designed the AI practice. We put a lot of time thinking into what to call it and how to structure this, because AI means 10 different things to 10 different people, right? And is it a company building an AI native product? It is a growth organization looking to roll out an AI feature for the first time? Is the title of the role head of AI? Like, how do you wrangle this into a practice? And what we decided is to look at it as a function, or the skill set of AI and data is how we frame that. Yeah. And so the AI practice today goes horizontally across Riviera's verticals, which are venture, private equity, and public. And we've got 25 searches live as of this morning in the AI practice across those three verticals. But they are largely dominated right now, actually maybe surprisingly, by private equity-backed organizations and venture capital-backed organizations, with public making up the remainder. So a huge breadth from your absolute largest top 5 FANG organizations to 2 people in a room with an idea and no tech built, but most stuff lies in between.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, my next question is really around the trends, because this is where people really want to know what's going on. I mean, if you've been the past 18 months deep in this, I mean, you're seeing a lot of things, right? You're seeing everything come at you in different ways. So, like, talk me through some of the trends you're seeing in the executive hiring market. I mean, like, how are roles segmenting? Are there archetypes? Like, I mean, what about, like, even, comp? I know there's a lot of things to talk about inside of sort of the data and trends, but I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and feel free to steer or guide. Like, happy to use this time in whatever way would be most value to the audience and the team. I had a wonderful time at Scale Up AI last year round. I was super excited to be invited to participate in this. I've never done a LinkedIn Live event, so whatever would be most useful to the audience, just guide my comments so I don't get too chatty here. In general, if I were to try to summarize the roles we're seeing across the different stages of organizations, I'd say, and this is pretty fresh, like something I'm chewing on right now, is the idea that it feels like it's breaking down into 3 major categories of core skill set for the leader we're hiring. And what I mean by that is, a company calls us, they say, hey, we're looking to hire a head of AI or a VP of AI. And while that title might be the same across the board, what it means as to the core competency of the candidate they're looking to bring in, I'd say that falls into 3 big buckets right now, which are engineering leadership as a core competency, product management, or research / applied AI. So product research would be these 3 big buckets of what kind of person or leader are you looking to bring into this role that's sort of universally titled head of AI, if you will.
Are you seeing any, I mean, are you seeing any other trends inside that, right? So obviously you have the 3 core competencies, you have the archetypes, but what else? I mean, is there anything else you're seeing in that, right? I mean, is it that you're finding companies that are looking for more, because obviously, right, it's a relatively new, I mean, ML has been around a long time, AI, that piece of it, the skill set piece of it. What are people looking for inside of those roles, right? Or those core competencies, those core candidate competencies?
So there's definitely a number of ways you could slice this. I'd say looking at the organizations at large in terms of where they come from. So like looking at a venture capital backed organization, I'd say there'd be 2 major buckets. One is their earlier stage, they're building an AI native product, meaning the thing they want to bring to market is an AI forward or SLM or LLM or just somehow Gen AI powered product or service as the guts of what they offer. Yeah. The general theme there is, if we build it, meaning we have reasonable confidence we can, they will come and we'll find product market fit. The other side of that, that's less frequent in the earlier stages, is the research element of, we're looking for a lead researcher, help us attract more researchers, help us try and solve the science of, can we build this? Can we make this work? So that is a definite risk bucket that really only exists in venture-backed organizations, but it's less common than we're reasonably confident we can build it. Can we find product market fit? Then I would jump to like the growthier stage of venture, where those organizations have been around for 5-6 years. They have a healthy product suite. They've got robust revenues. Those are more 2 shapes. One, they're looking to bolt on a net new product suite to take advantage of capabilities that were not available to them before. The other is they're looking to do some kind of horizontal play where it's less application or product focused. It's more capability focused of what would happen if we could combine financial data with data from users on the website live right now, with who renewed their subscription most recently, like what would be possible if we brought all these disparate data sets together. And that would go right into the private equity perspective of growth organizations, where they tend to be a bit more established. They tend to be a bit more legacy or less software forward as the core product or service they're bringing to market. And oftentimes what we're seeing there is this element of AI to ROI, like help us run our business better. And that's usually an internal focus around optimization, margin improvement, and help us add to or build out additional revenue streams. But there's less risk appetite for the if we build it, will they come? And so they're usually very adjacent revenue streams as opposed to a net new product that may not be validated by the market. The other element I'd add to the PE-backed organizations is a third lens, which is reimagining the delivery of a known service. And if you think about professional services, legal services, translation services, accounting services, where there's a known demand, so we're not taking much risk on do organizations purchase this service or do people use the service, but rather can we leverage new technologies and capabilities to deliver something in a new way for the first time? Can we deliver it in 1 day instead of 10 days? Is there a different economic pricing point there? And so we see a lot of roles that have a big focus element on reimagining the delivery of a known service, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. So obviously you're seeing a lot of the market evolving, the job market, right? So what do you see in the next few years, right? In the AI, ML job market evolving space, right? What does it look like?
It's a hotly debated question. Would love your opinion on this as well across all the portfolio companies and the hundreds of organizations you work with. I've got a couple themes and theses for sure. I think there's this idea of the rise of the AI product manager, like what should we build and why. I've learned that the economics behind a lot of AI engineering development initiatives has changed dramatically, where you have these organizations, let's say 10, 15 years ago, if you wanted to do any AI, you had to do all of it, your own data labeling, your own data management, your own curation. So like you had to do your own inferencing, like everything. And so you had these huge organizations internally just to build a proprietary recommendation engine or very growthy type data science or mandates. Whereas now you can absolutely move mountains with a crack team of 3 or 4 folks and some great APIs from the large cloud providers. So this economic element has shifted so dramatically that I'm starting to see a lot of these heads of AI roles are very much product forward. What should we build and why? With a big engineering element as to where do we think we'll find the most ROI? What should we proof of concept first and why, in what order? How do we leverage our resources best? So sort of this commercially minded eng leader or engineering capable product leader, if you will. This rise of the AI product manager I see as a major element going forward for a lot of growthy, later, larger organizations, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, what about it's a finite resource right now, right? I mean, everyone's looking for these top executives or even top individual contributors who are experts. I mean, how is that playing out inside of Riviera, right? With the customers you're working with?
Well, a lot of times we'll work with a company and they'll say, how reasonable is it that we can attract the right kind of person we're looking for, right? Yeah. And it sounds gimmicky and silly, but like a lot of the reasons that people left large organizations to go to smaller, mid-sized organizations are still true, like impact, a seat at the table, flexibility, delivery speed or cadence at which they can put new products into market. There's just a big element when it comes to all things AI of this proprietary data. I think that's probably the only major unique element outside of the usual reasons someone leaves to go to a smaller or growthy org. This idea that there's a proprietary data set that will never be published online, that won't be available to said large technology organizations, that element has so much intrigue and interest from a lot of AI leaders of, what kinds of insights, what kind of value, what kind of product experiences could we unlock from access to this data with all the latest tools and technologies that are often being developed by third parties but we could bring in and use in a really unique or innovative way.
Yeah. I mean, are you thinking, I'm thinking about smaller startups, right? And growth
Yeah.
players. Can they really compete, right? Because I think that's probably, and think about people, audience listening, like, can I compete with the big guys, right? Who are gobbling up as much of this talent as possible? And like, what can I do? How can we operate differently? Well, how can we attract them? What's the value of, again, I'd love to hear how you're thinking about it when you're talking to portfolio companies, right? On the growth or private equity side.
Yeah. We get this question almost every time we're kicking off a search, for sure. And we spend a lot of time working with the founder, especially early stage organizations, to hone that narrative as to what will be attractive to the right folks. Because there's a tremendous amount of truth that, like, we're not going to compete on compensation. We shouldn't try. Most of the shares are illiquid or options. Like, we're not going to compete on dollar for dollar liquidity. So don't try. So what can we compete on? What can they have access to here that they can't get there? And oftentimes it comes down to things like owning the research roadmap, right? Having a seat at the table where you're not just delivering on one element of a much larger organization or initiative, but you're helping to roadmap and lay out the foundation of that initiative where, regardless of what leader comes in after you, you've kind of, it's got your thumbprints all over it. You've laid that path that everyone's following. That, I can't understate how valuable that is when you then extrapolate it to the impact that it might have on that organization, whether it's early stage or growthy, from evaluation or user impact. The idea you can meaningfully move the needle in a big way in a new industry that's never applied these kinds of technologies before, can't understate the value of attractiveness of these kinds of things.
Yeah, so really selling the value proposition versus, again, I know that, we're going to talk about compensation is a very difficult thing, or especially in this market, highly competitive. But I hear it all the time, right? I mean, that just the pricings, you're pricing a lot of companies out, right? Like, and it's hard. And I think it goes back to what you're saying, right? Is really thinking about the value proposition, the technology that you're going to work on and build. Is there anything else that you talk to people about? I mean, even executives or even other, experts that you're trying to place, for them to like reframe their brain versus, like, again, it's easy to think about any of the big companies and the kind of offers or opportunities they're throwing at them, right?
Well, I always love that Steve Jobs sales pitch he gave with the CEO of Pepsi or Cola, where was it? Do you want to play with sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to come change the world? That same narrative, I can't tell you how valuable that is. Like, a lot of the larger technology organizations tend to be ad-driven organizations, which has swallowed a lot of the PhD brain power out there, right? And so when you bring a really interesting problem set that has to do with healthcare or insurance or medical tech or dynamic pricing of lumber, or something that they have some element of relation to, especially in the music world, right? We recently did a really interesting search there. When they can take a skill set they've honed in one industry, and you can help them understand why it would be incredibly applicable to drive value in a net new industry they've never thought of before, that has some kind of personal tie back to them, there's a huge amount of value unlock. And I don't want to rush it and pretend like it's easy. We really do spend a lot of time with founders and CEOs honing that narrative to make it attractive, so that we do get the right folks on the phone. We can hook, we can intrigue, and they come back every time with more questions.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you guys are, the organization Riviera is just leading in this way, especially on the search side. I mean, your deep experience and knowledge, right, as well in this space, I think helps, especially, top candidates, because they want to hear that other side of things. They don't want to hear just always about like whiz bang, flashy. They want to hear this other stuff, and they want, right, you as that search partner to be real to them, which is great. And really, really, again, to sell the opportunity in the right way and the value proposition of joining a new organization, what they're going to get from that, right?
Yeah, so it's not easy. It takes a good bit of work, but it is very rewarding, and it's a ton of fun right now.
Okay, so you're not seeing this AI cycle slowing down anytime soon, right?
Not at all. If anything, I'd say more of a maturing. Round one was extremely consumery. Round two feels very enterprise and infrastructure and dev tool heavy. It's changing shape, but I can't say I feel any slowing or less eagerness for activity. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Well, that's good. Well, I'm not sure. Those are all my questions. I mean, like, I figure we would knock through a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's other things that we wanted to discuss, but like I said, it's great to have you here and get the opportunity to talk through it, and especially thinking about your partnership at the Scale Up AI conference here is very soon. So, are there anything that Go ahead. Who's going to be presenting at Riviera? And are there things are you going to be there as well presenting, or who do you have?
Yeah, very excited to be attending, and I'm getting some messages saying I think we're up on time here, and they're going to be giving us the hook soon. So, no, I can't wait for the event coming up. I'll definitely be there in person, as will a number of folks from Riviera, and look forward to meeting anyone on the live stream here. Please come up, say hello. We'd love to shake hands and introduce ourselves and get to know what you're working on and building.
Awesome. Hey, Kyle, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it. It was great.